Hello, welcome back. We're going over Godot some more. This time it's signals, which are Godot's version of the observer pattern. A pattern here is a way of programming. It's sort of a technique. There are lots of patterns. The idea of programming patterns sort of rose to prominence, I don't know, 30, 35 years ago now. Actually, I think it was like 25 to 30 years ago. They're more applicable to large projects like an entire game engine, but you can use their tactics in smaller things too. So first, I've already gone ahead and loaded up a fresh project called the top node timer, the root node timer example, which it will tell us to do in a moment here. I'm going to add to that timer and a sprite, which is under node 2D sprite. And then I will load in a texture for that, like this. And I am going to go ahead and use the ship from Negative Space, the small version of the ship. Which, if you haven't seen the Negative Space videos, I advise you to go watch those. That's where I build a game basically from scratch for a game jam. And I do all the code and art myself. There's no sound. But just going to copy that ship. Scripting test 3. Plop it in there. Move this over here. While I'm at it, I'm going to change the window size because I feel like it. Oh, yes, and I'm going to, I can't do that yet because I haven't saved the scene. Save scene, timer example, project, settings, main scene. There, now it'll actually run when we click run. So yes, in the timer node, we're going to want to click over here where it says auto start, which will make it automatically start when it spawns, when it enters the scene graph, scene, the node tree. That's it, a node tree. So yes, this is going to go back over signals, which went over a bit in the past too, but it's going to also introduce some new things. So inspector for timer, yeah. And oh, and yes, and I'm going to change the wait time to 0.6. Let's do 0.67 of a second. Node timeout is the one we want, emitted when the timer reaches 0. So we're going to connect that. Oh yes, we need to first attach a script to something. I'm going to attach it to the parent node, the root node. Connect to timer example of the on timer timeout. And yes, you must have a script attached or you'll receive an error message. And it points out advanced here where you can set other things to be sent along with your regular signal. And the default name for the function is underscore on underscore node name. The node here is just timer with capital T, then underscore, and the signal name. Signal name is timeout, as displayed over there. So we'll click connect. It's going to paste in a little bit of code, func on timer timeout. Let's delete this extraneous stuff. Yes, and we're going to do $sprite.visible equals exclamation point $.sprite. It is a mouthful. We're going to do $sprite capital S dot visible equals exclamation point $sprite dot visible. What that means, the $sign is a way of doing get underscore node left right parentheses of whatever comes after it. So it's a get node left right parentheses in quotes of whatever comes after it. That is provided by the underlying mechanics of GD scripts. You can see here in C#, you would need to use a get node function and I guess a sprite template, and then specify sprite, the name of the resource in quotes. So $sign capital sprite. Let's get on the right window. Sprite dot visible equals exclamation point $sign sprite dot visible. Now the exclamation point means not. So what's going on here is sprite dot visible is a boolean. It is a true or false value. So if you do not in front of it, it switches it to the other one. If it's true, it becomes false. If it's false, it becomes true. So we set the value of this field, which defines whether or not the sprite is visible, to the opposite of whatever it was. So if it was visible, it becomes invisible. If it was invisible, it becomes visible. And this happens whenever the timer runs out. And if we run, we can see once it loads that it will flash on and off after every 0.67 of a second. Now, you can also do this connection through code. But if you're going to do that and you have it connected through the GUI method, initially you're going to want to undo that connection. Otherwise, it's going to yell at you. You're not going to be happy. Do disconnect. Okay, yeah, so now when you click that, it shows nothing. Control X. Yep, the symbol is gone, and then you can type in the same things, and it will do the same thing. Oh yes, you would first need to connect it with, and a good place to do this is in the ready function, the underscore ready function, because that runs once when the node first becomes active in the node tree. So source node dot connect, signal name, target node, target function. Alright, so the source node is sprite, I believe. It's timer. So dollars, and we need to get the node, so we need to do $timer, because we're not actually on timer. The script is on timer example. It's on the node 2D node. It's on the parent node, the root node. So timer dot connect. Then in the function arguments, we do signal name, which is timeout. Then target node, which is self, which because it tells it down there. But we are connecting this to that. You don't need to specify the other. Well, you do need to specify the other node. That is what $timer means. Like if I rename this, rename counter. that is a timer, but now that it's called counter, I need to do sign counter. Self, timeout self, and target function, which could be called anything. On, we can just change this to on count over underscore on underscore count underscore over. Save and run, and that will come up, and it should do the exact same thing. And yep, there it is. Now, you can define custom signals so that you're not limited to just what the admittedly fairly, plentiful signals that are provided by the engine. So you want all of a given type of thing. Like if we think back to the last episode where we had a broadcast being sent out by a button and other labels that were listening to it, those labels had to specifically listen for the button being clicked, or the script that was I believe on the panel node, the parent node, had to listen for the button being clicked. They can listen for whatever. You just have to define the signal. You do that with signal and then the signal name, and that's it in GDScript. There's a whole process in C#, but so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Appear signal flag. Signal flag. That's a thing. So to send the signal, you're going to want to do emit signal, and then the signal name in quotes, in parentheses. So signal flag. So what I'm going to do is create a script on the sprite to change it based on that signal. Func on, and in fact I'm going to speed up slightly by doing this. Yes, you can see now that I've defined that signal, it's listed in the editor, so you can connect it this way. Connecting from timer example to sprite. Connect. Alright, that just pastes in the name of the function and pass so that it has something under there. So what I'm going to do is change the, I'm going to first double check the documentation. You can right click an item over here and go to show documentation. That will show you all the things you can do code wise with that object. That is a really helpful thing. And I'm going to go to, let's see, yeah, offset, no. Going to go to the parent one, which is object. No? Node 2D, which has a position. Going to make this a little more flashy. I'm going to remove, I'm going to comment this out so it doesn't run. Going to do sprite dot position. Well, yes, no, sorry. Do position dot x equals position dot x plus 3, and Let's see, the documentation. Sprite flip H. Flip H equals not flip H, which again, that's a Boolean. It's a true or false. So setting it to not itself will invert it. It will flip it around from whatever it was. So now that should have interesting little bit of effect. Yeah, the signal arguments show up in the editor's node document. You can use them to generate callback functions. If I put my mouse right here as a reference point, you can see it is moving because the position is being incremented by 3 every time this this signal is being sent. So all the manipulation is happening on a script attached to the sprite now, which I'm not sure if I like that better or having it attached to a parent node. But yeah, it's just flipping around and making its way over. And that is actually it for this chapter or segment of the tutorial. And I'm a little reticent to go on to the next one because the next one is called Your First Game. And it is a full game. It's not like a massive game, but it is, oh boy, just quite a bit longer than any of the ones up to now. And the one after this refers back to some things from this. And there's another one coming up that is, this one just is how to put it on other platforms, which is nice. And then the one after that, or one of the ones coming up, just goes over the design philosophy of the engine, which has already been shown in how it works. And if it was going to be anything, I would think it would be the first one. And I don't think it's really relevant to go over that. So I'm at a bit of a sticking point. What I think I will do is, if there's any feedback anybody wants me to do that Your First Game chapter, then I will do that. Otherwise, I will do maybe a few more from the other tutorials supplied on the Godot site. I'll maybe make my own little game from scratch so that I'm not constantly going back and doing exactly what it says to do. But for right now, that is it. I hope this helped. There may be more. There will definitely be more game making content coming. I'll see you later.